trees. I mean, they're great. Black locust is better than honey locust. I like them both. Honey locust is fantastic because the seed pods have well, a molasses-like substance in it. You can make your own sugar from a honey locust tree. You can brew your own beer from a honey locust tree. They're great. And if you want a plant that will draw game to your property, if you really want to plant something that's going to bring up a lot of deer and, well, bears and everything around here, coons and possums and we got it all. Turkeys, wild turkeys are roosting up in the trees. But anyway, you can't beat a honey locust. Apples will certainly do the same, but I mean, honey locust, they grow like crazy. And black locusts are not as good. They don't have that sugary gum in the bean pod that the honey locust has, but the honey locust is not as nitrogen fixing as the black locust. Some people say it may not fix nitrogen at all. You have to figure it out. I happen to be very fond of honey locust, and they grow these huge thorns, which you can actually use like nails or needles. They're actually hard enough. You can use them like nails. I wouldn't like pound on them with a hammer or something, but that's actually what our ancestors used before they, made nails out of metal. So I can see a million uses for the locust trees in, a survival situation. They can also be coppiced. That means you can cut them off and they grow back, so you can just keep harvesting the same tree over and over for firewood or carving wood or whatever you happen to need. Wonderful plants. But I normally use red clover flowers in a salad, or if I've grilled some trout and I throw a few wild greens on the side, I want to look fancy for a date or something. Yeah, the girls love the flowers on the plate. I guarantee that. So cut a few chives and throw a few flowers on there, and woo, that looks great. And I look like a great chef. And I actually am, in the words of Justin Wilson, a damn good cook, I guarantee. But I am by no means a chef. I don't pay attention to plating whatsoever. I just put something on a plate and eat it. But, if you're entertaining a lady, you want to put arrange things so they look pretty. They say you eat with your eyes first. I actually eat with my nose first. If it smells good, I eat it. And if I cared about what food looked like, I wouldn't eat as much Chinese food as I do. Let's be honest. It looks like a plate of vomit. And that's usually the best Chinese food. I'm just saying. They don't really get into plating. But it's pretty hard to beat. And when the smell of those leeks and green onions and ginger and garlic hits my nose, man, I could eat some Chinese food, let me tell you. And yeah. Anyway, if you want to impress your lady, put some flowers on the plate. That's all I'm saying. Make sure they're edible flowers. Go with some violets. Go with some nasturtiums, like we talked about last week. Borage flowers, red clover is absolutely perfect. So, a minute ago, I mentioned Jerusalem artichokes. Tubers. In a survival situation, really your tuberiferous vegetables, is that what we call them? Your potatoes and your onions and your parsnips and anything that grows a root. Burdock is one we discussed before. It has an excellent root that nobody harvests anymore, and it's fantastic. One of the very best is Jerusalem artichoke. Now, Jerusalem artichoke is not an artichoke. I love artichokes, but the Jerusalem artichoke has no relation to the thistle plant whatsoever, which is where Jerusalem artichokes come from, which is where real artichokes come from. The Jerusalem artichoke is actually a wild sunflower. Yes, the sunflower we get the seeds from. Well, this one is grown more for the roots. It has nice roots about the size of small potatoes, and if you find a patch of them, you can probably fill a couple bushel baskets full of them. They're fantastic. Now, the reason they're called Jerusalem artichokes, one, they don't come from Jerusalem. Two, they're not an artichoke. The Spanish encountered this plant, and it actually comes from the Spanish name for sunflower. It was girasol. And somehow that became Jerusalem to English-speaking folks who heard it. How it got the name artichoke, I have no idea. Don't even ask me. But some people call them sunchokes. They go by different names. But they grow wild all over around here in the mountains where I live. We have several members of the sunflower family. Not all of them bear roots, so I'm always kind of poking around at the bottoms of plants trying to make sure I've got the right ones because they can look pretty similar. Um, Whereas sunflowers are grown through seeds, the Jerusalem artichokes grow through tubers. I would recommend you grow both. They're very pretty flowers. They're going to look good in any flower garden. No one's going to complain about them. They're very nutritious and medicinal. Now, sunflowers can be huge. I mean, the Russian sunflowers are massive. Um, Massive. Some only grow about waist high. The flowers are always bright and cheerful. They turn to face the sun. They can actually help you figure out where you are if you're lost. They're yellow. They're sunny. Who doesn't like them, right? And I mean, frankly, if all you know of the plants is a few salted seeds between innings while playing baseball, you are going to be very surprised. And yeah, I grew up munching on sunflower seeds playing baseball. But for instance, Plants for a Future says medicinal uses of sunflower. A tea made from the leaves is astringent, diuretic, and expectorant. It is used in the treatment of high fevers. The crushed leaves are used as a poultice on sores, swelling, snake bites, and spider bites. The leaves are harvested as the plant comes into flower and are dried for later use. A tea made from the flowers is used in the treatment of malaria and lung ailments. The flowering head and seeds are febrifuge, which means help explore fever, nutritive in the stomach, stomatic, good for you and help settle the stomach. The seed is also considered to be diuretic and expectorant. It has been used with success in treatment of many pulmonary complaints. A decoction of the root has been used as a warm wash on rheumatic joints. And as for medicinal uses of Jerusalem artichoke, it is reported to be a parient aphrodisiac, believe it or not. Cholagogue diuretic, spermatogenic, means it increases sperm count, supposedly. I don't know. Who knows? Stomatic and tonic, Jerusalem artichoke is a folk remedy for diabetes and rheumatism. So, medicinal use, most people don't even know about. Who doesn't love sunflowers? I mean, I do. And again, in a bad situation, you can press oil out of sunflowers. It could actually run your vehicle if you drive a diesel, and you should. If you're a prepper, you better be looking into diesel. I mean, there's so many things you can do with diesel you cannot do with a gasoline engine. But anyway, you can put your sunflower seeds in bread. You can actually make a sort of a peanut butter type spread out of them. You can just toast them. You can just eat them raw. And then your roots from the Jerusalem artichoke could, I mean, literally save your life. I mean, come on, if you were starving and you had a big old pot of those with some oil or a little butter or just salt, I mean, that's going to keep you going for weeks. I mean, yeah, definitely grow these plants, and they're beautiful. They are absolutely ornamental. Sunflowers, all sunflowers, like dry soil and a sunny spot, but the Jerusalem artichoke prefers shade and damp areas. So you can grow at least one of these on your property. Other than that, they're extremely tolerant of different climates and very easy to grow. I mean, there are sunflowers bred for probably every climate on earth. Jerusalem artichokes like a damp soil and some shade. So, I mean, they will grow where other things won't. And the great thing about Jerusalem artichoke roots, they don't spike the blood sugar. They don't affect the insulin levels the way potatoes and such do. So diabetics can usually eat Jerusalem artichokes even if if they're having trouble with potatoes and such. Now, there is one caveat. They contain inulin. That inulin is the sugar that diabetics can eat without spiking their insulin levels. But it can be difficult to digest. In fact, your body has to learn to digest it. It will actually adapt to it over time if you eat small amounts. If you had never eaten anything with inulin in it, which more than likely, given the modern American diet, you haven't, and you sat down to a big meal of Jerusalem artichokes, you would be in absolute agony the rest of the night, and so would everybody with you because it causes extreme flatulence. Until your body learns to digest that sugar, it will produce gas. So, if you're going to grow Jerusalem artichokes, if you're going to forage for them, like I do, if you're going to learn to eat them, A little bit at a time, let your body learn to process this food. Several plants contain inulin. The root of dandelion and chicory and burdock. Burdock contains inulin. The more wild foods you get into, the more you're going to be eating inulin-containing roots. So start slowly and don't have a big meal if you've got anybody around, because you trust me, you don't want to share a tent with someone who eats a big serving of boiled or roasted and buttered Jerusalem artichokes who's never encountered them before. You remember that scene from Blazing Saddles? Yeah, that's about what we're talking about. So, it's another greatest movie. I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan. Actually, Young Frankenstein, whatever it was, that was my favorite. But Blazing Saddles, I love it when Gene Wilder is talking about why he stopped being a gunfighter and started drinking so heavily. And, he'd been the greatest gunfighter in the West. And he said his reputation just spread. Everybody wanted to fight him. One day he's walking down the street, and hears a voice said, "Draw, mister." Turns around, guns pulled, and it's a 9-year-old kid. He says, "Well, what'd you do?" He said, "Well, I put my gun away and walked away." "What happened then?" "Little bastard shot me in the ass." Oh, I hope you don't mind the colorful language. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love everything Mel Brooks did, actually. I've actually sat through the 12 Chairs, which was difficult, not his funniest movie. But if you ever encounter anyone from Ukraine or Poland or Russia, they're going to love it. That is like, for some reason, no, I'm serious. The Central Eastern Europeans love that film. It comes from a traditional folk tale, apparently, from their region. And yeah. Anyway, that was, I think, the first movie he did. It's amazing. He even had a career after that. It was really not for an American audience at all. But anyway, Spaceballs, you can't beat that. Silent movie. The Producers. Wow. He did so much great stuff. We won't count Dracula Dead and Loving It. That was pretty bad. Pretty awful, actually. Or Robin Hood Men in Tights. Yeah, there are a few memorable lines from that one. But anyway, yeah, Mel Brooks or like the Zucker Abrams Zucker fans, like films like Airplane, Naked Gun. Oh man, I grew up on that stuff. I thought, yeah, warped my humor forever. Anyway, y'all, have a great week. Let me know if I can carve anything for you, or if there's something you want off my site. Let's go ahead and get some Christmas gifts under those trees for the people we care about. And remember, even the Christmas tree has medicinal uses. The needles are very high in vitamin C, make a wonderful tea. However, most trees that come from a Christmas tree farm have been soaked in pesticides and fertilizers. So definitely prefer to harvest such things from the wild and not from a farm. In fact, where I live is like the Christmas tree farming center of Eastern America, and cancer rates are off the chart. These chemicals, bad stuff. Bad stuff. In the words of Kramer when he was talking about Kenny Rogers' chicken, mess you up. Anyway, y'all have a great one. I'll talk to you next week.
The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.